Captain Taj stood at the window of the ship, looking at the strange planet below. The blue and green world of the Vexari was now only minutes away. Behind him, his beast waited quietly. The large, muscular creature had dark plates covering its body and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Everyone called these beasts sentinels. The military made them to fight and protect humans. "Ready for landing, Captain?" asked Officer Kim, checking the ship's controls. "Yes. Make sure the beast is properly secured," Ta said without looking back. He never called his sentinel by any name. It was just beast to him. A tool. A weapon. Nothing more. The landing was smooth. When the doors opened, bright light filled the ship. Tai led his team out onto the landing pad. 4 soldiers followed him, and behind them walked the sentinel. The beast moved with power and grace, its heavy steps making small sounds on the metal floor. A group of Vexari officials waited for them. The aliens were tall with smooth, pale skin and large eyes. Among them stood a human woman in diplomatic clothes. "Captain Tai," she said, stepping forward with a small bow. "ING, the human ambassador to the Vexari. Welcome to their world." Tai returned the bow stiffly. "We're here to discuss the military alliance. My team will need to set up security." Jai nodded and began to introduce the Vexari officials. While they talked, the sentinel moved closer to Tai, as it was trained to do. The Vexari officials stepped back quickly, their large eyes showing fear. Everyone knew about the sentinels and their deadly skills. But Jai did something unexpected. She turned to face the beast directly. "Hello there," she said softly. "You must be tired after the long journey." Ta frowned. "Ambassador, the beast doesn't understand you. It only responds to commands." Jai smiled. "Perhaps, but courtesy costs nothing." She held out her hand, palm down, near the sentinel's face. "May I?" "It might attack," Ta warned. "These beasts are made for combat, not for petting." "I've worked with sentinels before," Jai said calmly. She kept her hand out, waiting. Tai was about to order her back when something strange happened. The sentinel, which never acted without orders, lowered its head slightly. It moved closer to Jai's hand. The soldiers behind Tai shifted nervously. No one had commanded the beast to move. Jai gently placed her hand on the sentinel's armored head. The beast remained still. Its eyes, usually cold and alert, seemed to soften. "Amazing," whispered one of the Vexari officials. "It responds to her." "You speak to it like it understands you," Ta said with disbelief. Jai looked up at him, her hand still resting on the sentinel's head. "Perhaps he understands more than you think," she replied. "Have you ever considered that your beast might have a soul?" Tai almost laughed, but stopped himself in front of the Vexari officials. "It's a weapon, Ambassador. Made in a lab. Nothing more." Jai didn't argue, but she gave the sentinel one final gentle touch before stepping away. "Come, let me show you where your team will stay during the talks." As they walked toward the large building ahead, Ta couldn't help glancing back at his beast. The sentinel walked as it always did. Alert, powerful, dangerous. But something seemed different. It kept looking at Jai as they moved forward. For the first time, Ta wondered what went on behind those eyes. Was it just programming and training? Or was there something more? That night, as the others slept, Tai watched his beast from across the room. The sentinel sat perfectly still, as it always did when not needed. But Tai couldn't forget how it had responded to Jai without any command. "Do you really understand?" he whispered to the beast. "Is there something in there I've never seen?" The sentinel's eyes moved to meet his, and for a brief moment, Tai felt something he had never felt before, a connection. Then the moment passed, and it was just a beast again. Or so he told himself. The meeting hall was large and bright. Tai sat stiffly next to Ambassador Jai as the Vexari leaders discussed the terms of an alliance. His sentinel stood behind him, silent and watchful as always. "The Marvacs have attacked 3 of our outer colonies," said the chief Vexari, his large eyes blinking slowly. "They will come for your worlds next, humans." Ta nodded. The Marvacs were known raiders who attacked both human and Vexeri ships. That's why their two species were trying to work together now. "Our military can help protect your colonies," Ta said. "We have ships, weapons, and—" he gestured to the sentinel, "or beasts." Jai was about to speak when a loud boom shook the building. Everyone jumped to their feet. "We're under attack," shouted one of the Vexeri. Ted's training kicked in. "Everyone follow me. We need to get to safety." He turned to his sentinel. "Protect mode. Stay close." The beast moved forward, its body tense and ready to fight. Outside, they could hear weapons firing and people shouting. "This way," called a Vexari guide. "There are old ruins beneath the city with strong walls. We can hide there." They ran through hallways and downstairs. Behind them, the sounds of fighting grew louder. Ta saw ships in the sky. Marvac ships, with their red markings and sharp edges. "Keep moving," he ordered. Suddenly, a blast hit the wall near them. Part of the ceiling fell, cutting their group in two. Ta found himself on one side with Ji and his sentinel. The others were on the far side of the fallen rocks. "Are you all right?" he called through the dust. "We will continue to the safe rooms," the Vexari guide called back. "Take the left tunnel. It leads to the same place." Ta looked at Ji. "Stay behind me. The beast will lead." They hurried down the left tunnel, which grew darker as they moved away from the city. The walls were old, covered with strange marks and pictures. This place was ancient. "These are the old ruins," Ji said, looking around with wonder despite the danger. The Vexari built their city on top of them. They came to a round room with no other exits. The walls were made of a strange, shiny metal that seemed to glow slightly. "We're trapped," Ta said, checking his comm device, "and communications are down. We can't reach the others." Ji walked slowly around the room, studying the walls. "This is incredible. This technology is thousands of years old." "That doesn't help us now," Ta said impatiently. "We need to find a way out." The sentinel moved around the room, sniffing at the walls. It seemed unusually interested in one section of the wall. "Your beast senses something," Jai said, moving closer to the sentinel. "It's probably just checking for threats," Tai replied. Ji shook her head. "No, look at how it's focusing. It's curious." "Beasts don't get curious," Ta said, but he wasn't sure anymore. Jai approached the sentinel and placed her hand near the wall where it was looking. "What is it? What do you see?" To Ta's surprise, the beast made a soft sound, almost like a word, and pushed its head against a part of the wall. Suddenly, the metal began to glow brighter, and a hidden door slid open. "How did it know?" Ta whispered. Jai looked at him with excitement in her eyes. "Captain, there's something I need to tell you about these creatures. I've been studying sentinel behavior for years, and they're far more than what the military tells us." She touched a small device on the wall, and it lit up with strange symbols. "These ruins contain Vexeri technology that can amplify telepathic connections between species." "Telepathic?" Ta frowned. "That's impossible." "Is it?" Ji asked, looking at the sentinel. "These creatures were engineered from an ancient species that once shared a special relationship with early humans on colony worlds. The military stripped away their higher functions, but I believe those connections still exist beneath the surface." The sentinel made another sound, almost like it was trying to speak. "You're saying my beast is intelligent?" Ta couldn't believe what he was hearing. "I'm saying," Jai replied softly, "that he might be much more than a beast." Ta stared at the strange device on the wall. It was round and glowed with a soft blue light. Ji was touching different parts of it, trying to make it work. "If what you're saying is true," Ta said slowly, "then the military has been lying to us for years. These beasts, sentinels, are not just weapons." "I believe they're much more," Jai replied. She looked at the sentinel, who stood watching them with what now seemed like real interest in its eyes. "I think this ancient technology might help us prove it." The device suddenly lit up more brightly. 3 small objects that looked like headbands came out of a hidden drawer. "What are those?" Ty asked. "I think they're connection devices," G said, picking one up carefully. The Vexari were masters of mind-to-mind communication. "These might let us connect with your sentinel." Ta shook his head. "This is crazy. You want to put alien technology on our heads. And on the beast. Do you have a better idea for getting out of here?" G asked. "Besides, don't you want to know the truth?" Ta looked at his sentinel. For years, the beast had followed his every command, fought beside him, saved his life more times than he could count. What if there was more to it than training and programming? "Fine," he said. "But I go first." Jay nodded and handed him one of the headbands. It was light and cool to the touch. Ta placed it on his head, feeling foolish. "Now what?" he asked. "I'll put one on, and then we'll try to put the third on your sentinel," Jai explained. When Ji put on her headband, nothing seemed to happen. But when she approached the sentinel with the third device, the beast surprised them. It lowered its head, as if it knew what was needed. "See," Ji said softly. "He understands." She placed the band carefully around the sentinel's head. The moment it touched the beast's skull, all 3 devices began to glow brighter. Ta gasped as a wave of feelings hit him. Fear, excitement, confusion. But they weren't his feelings. They were coming from the sentinel. "I can feel it. Him," Ta whispered. "How is this possible?" Ji's eyes were wide. "The connection is working. I can feel him too." The sentinel made a sound, somewhere between a growl and a word. In Ta's mind, a name formed. Quan. "Quan," Ta said out loud. Is that your name?" The beast, Quan, nodded his large head. More feelings flowed through the connection, along with flashes of memory. Ta saw a laboratory, felt pain, confusion, and then the long years of training. But beneath it all was a mind, thinking and feeling all along. "All this time," Ta said, his voice shaking. "All this time, you were aware. You understood everything." A feeling of agreement flowed from Quan, mixed with sadness and acceptance. "The military told us the sentinels were just animals with special training," Ta said, looking at Jay. "But he's been thinking, feeling. He's been a person all along." "Not just thinking," Jay said, her eyes closed as she focused on the connection. "Look deeper. There's more." Ta concentrated, and suddenly he could see more memories. But these weren't Quan's personal memories. They were older, from long ago, showing Quan's ancestors living alongside early human settlers on distant planets. The humans and the creatures that would become sentinels had worked together as partners, not master and slave. "They were our allies," Ta whispered, "before the military changed them." Through the connection, Quan showed them the truth. The military had found the descendants of these creatures and altered them, making them stronger and more aggressive. But they had never been able to remove their intelligence or their memories of what they once were. "All this time," Ta said again, looking at Quan with new eyes, "I've been treating a thinking being like a tool." "It's not too late to make things right," Ji said gently. "Quan has always known who you are. Now it's time for you to know who Quan is." Quan made another sound, and this time, through their connection, Tai understood it perfectly. "Friend." A loud boom shook the walls around them. Dust fell from the ceiling. "The Marvacs must be getting closer," Ta said, touching the headband he still wore. "We need to find a way out and rejoin the others." Through their new connection, Tai could feel Quan's thoughts. The sentinel was worried, but also determined. Images flashed in Ta's mind of tunnels and passages. "Quan seems to know this place," Ta said to Jai. "But how is that possible? He's never been here before." Jai studied the ancient writing on the walls. "I think it's genetic memory. The Vexari records say that Sentinel's ancestors lived here long ago. They might have passed down knowledge through their bloodlines. Another explosion rocked the room, closer this time. "We need to move now," Ta said. He turned to Quan and was about to give an order, but stopped himself. Instead, he asked, "Quan, can you show us the way out?" The sentinel nodded and moved toward a wall that looked solid. He pressed his head against it, and a hidden door slid open, revealing a dark tunnel. "Amazing," Jai whispered. "The doors must respond to sentinel DNA." They entered the tunnel, with Quan leading the way. The passageway was narrow, forcing them to walk single file. The only light came from their headbands, which glowed softly in the darkness. Through their mental connection, Tai could feel Quan's knowledge of the tunnels. It wasn't like looking at a map. It was more like having a memory of walking this path many times before. "Gee," Ta said as they walked, "you said the military changed these creatures, made them into weapons. How do you know all this?" Jai was quiet for a moment. "My father was one of the scientists who worked on the Sentinel program. Before he died, he told me the truth. He regretted what they had done, taking intelligent beings and forcing them to be weapons." Quan suddenly stopped, raising his head. Through their connection, Tai felt danger. "Someone's ahead," Ta whispered. They pressed against the wall as voices echoed down the tunnel. The sounds weren't human or Vexari. They were the harsh, clicking language of the Marvax. "They're blocking our path," Ji said softly. Tay reached for his weapon. "I'll handle this the old way." "Quan, attack pattern." He stopped himself again. "No, that's not right anymore." He looked at Quan, really looked at him, not as a weapon, but as a partner. "Quan, what do you think we should do?" Tai asked. Surprise, and then something like happiness flowed from Quan through their connection. Images formed in Ta's mind, a plan of attack that was smarter and more complex than the simple commands Tai had always used before. "He has a plan," Ta told Ji. "And it's better than mine." Working together, they moved silently through the shadows. Instead of a frontal attack, Quan showed them a small side passage that circled around behind the Marvac soldiers. There were 5 of them, heavily armed, searching the tunnels. Tai and Quan communicated without words, coordinating their movements perfectly. When they attacked, it was swift and silent. Ta took down 2 Marvacs while Quan disabled the other 3 without killing them. "That was incredible," Ta said when it was over. "I've never fought so well with him before." "Because you were fighting as equals," Ji said, "not as master and tool." They continued through the tunnels, with Quan guiding them. Soon, they could hear friendly voices ahead, the rest of their group. As they approached the main chamber where the others waited, Ta stopped and put his hand on Quan's shoulder. "I spent my career thinking I was making him stronger through discipline," Ta said to Jai. "But partnership makes us both stronger." Jai smiled. "That's the lesson humans often take too long to learn." When they entered the chamber, the Vexari officials looked shocked to see the devices on their heads, and even more surprised at how Ta now walked beside Quan rather than in front of him. "Captain, what happened down there?" one of Ta's soldiers asked. Ta looked at Quan, then at Jai. "Everything," he said simply. "Everything has changed." The safe room was filled with Vexari officials and human soldiers. Everyone was talking about the Marvax attack. Tai, Ji, and Quan stood to one side, still wearing the headband devices. "You need to remove those alien devices right now, Captain," said one of Ta's soldiers. "They could be dangerous." Ta shook his head. "They're not dangerous. They're helping us communicate." "Communicate? With the beast?" The soldier looked confused. "His name is Quan," Ta said firmly. "And yes, we can communicate with him now." The room went quiet. The Vexari officials looked at each other, but they didn't seem surprised. "You knew," Ji said to them. "You knew the Sentinels were intelligent." The chief Vexari stepped forward. "We suspected. Our old stories tell of your beast's ancestors. They were wise creatures who shared our worlds long ago. A new voice cut through the room. This is completely unacceptable, Captain Ta. Everyone turned to see Commander Sun entering the room. He was Ta's superior officer, a tall man with cold eyes and a hard face. With him came more human soldiers. Sir, Ta said, standing straight, we've made an amazing discovery. The Sentinels are intelligent beings. They can think and feel. They have memories passed down through generations. Commander Sun's face didn't change. Remove that device from your head immediately, Captain. That's an order. Something in his voice made Ta pause. Through his connection with Quan, he felt fear and anger, not toward the Marvacs, but toward Commander Sun. You already know, Ta said slowly. The military knows the Sentinels are intelligent. The room was completely silent now. Commander Sun looked at Ta for a long moment. Of course we know, he finally said. We've always known. These creatures are the perfect weapons precisely because they understand what they're doing. Their loyalty programming ensures they'll never turn against us, but their intelligence makes them adaptable in ways no simple beast could be. Jai stepped forward, her face showing anger. You've been keeping sentient beings as slaves, forcing them to fight for you when they have minds and wills of their own. They were created to serve, Commander Sun said coldly. It's their purpose. Created? Tai asked. You told us they were found and trained. A simplified version of the truth, Sun replied. Their ancestors were discovered, yes, but we've spent generations breeding them, changing them to suit our needs. Through their connection, Ta felt Quan's sadness and anger. Images flashed in his mind. Laboratories, pain, other sentinels trapped in small spaces. This is wrong, Ta said. These are thinking beings. They deserve rights, freedom. Commander Sun laughed. Rights? For weapons? Don't be ridiculous, Captain. He turned to his soldiers. Take the Sentinel and the ancient technology. Both are now military property. The soldiers moved forward, weapons ready. What about the Marvacs attack? Ji asked quickly. Isn't that more important right now? There is no Marvacs attack, one of the Vexari officials said suddenly. Everyone looked at him. Our sensors show the ships are human. They just look like Marvacs vessels. Tai turned to Commander Sun in shock. You staged an attack. Why? We received reports that the ambassador was getting too close to the truth about Sentinels, Sun said. And that ancient Vexari technology could undo years of our work. We couldn't allow that. The soldiers kept coming closer. They surrounded Ta, Ji, and Quan. Hand over the beast and the technology, Captain. Commander Sun ordered. That's the last time, I'll ask nicely. Ta looked at Quan, feeling the Sentinels' fear and determination through their connection. Then he looked at Ji, who nodded slightly. Ta stepped between Sun's soldiers and Quan. For the first time in his military career, he disobeyed a direct order. He's not an asset, Tai declared. He's my partner, and I won't let you take him. Commander Sun's face darkened with anger. Then you are a traitor to humanity, Captain Ta. No, Tai replied. I think I'm finally remembering what humanity is supposed to mean. The room was tense. Commander Sun's soldiers had their weapons pointed at Tai, while Tai stood firmly in front of Quan. Last chance, Captain, Commander Sun said. Step aside or face the consequences. Before Tai could answer, one of the other soldiers, Officer Lee, suddenly removed his helmet. Sir, I can't do this, Lee said. I've worked with my Sentinel for 3 years. If what the captain says is true. It is true, Ji said quickly. She held up one of the headband devices. These allow us to communicate with them, to hear their thoughts, feel their emotions. Officer Lee looked at his own Sentinel, which stood quietly nearby. Would you like to know what your partner thinks? Ji asked softly. Commander Sun stepped forward. Don't you dare. That's military property. But it was too late. Jia had already moved to Officer Lee's side. She placed a headband on Lee's head and offered another to Lee's Sentinel, which lowered its head to accept it. The effect was immediate. Officer Lee gasped, his eyes widening. She's been aware this whole time, Lee whispered. Her name is Mena. One by one, other soldiers began to look at their sentinels differently. A few stepped away from Commander Sun to stand with Ta. This is mutiny, Sun shouted. I'll have you all court-martialed. Court-martial us for what? Tai asked. For refusing to enslave thinking beings. For treating our partners with respect. The Vexeri chief spoke up. Commander, your deception has been revealed. We offer sanctuary to Captain Tai, and any others who wish to treat the Sentinels as the intelligent beings they are. Commander Sun's face turned red with anger. He pulled out his own weapon. The Sentinels are military assets. They cost millions to create and train. They belong to us. Through his connection with Quan, Tai could feel something new, not just Quan's thoughts, but whispers from other Sentinels too. They were communicating with each other. They've always been able to talk to each other, Tai realized aloud. Even without these devices. Jay nodded. The military couldn't remove that ability completely. They've been silently watching and waiting all this time. More soldiers joined Tai's side. Soon, Commander Sun had only a few men left with him. This isn't over, Sun growled. A high command won't stand for this. Maybe they should hear the truth too, Ji suggested. She turned to the Vexeri officials. Can you make more of these devices? Enough for many humans and sentinels. The Vexeri nodded. We can create hundreds within days. Commander Sun backed toward the door. I'm declaring all of you traitors to humanity. When I return, it will be with enough force to end this rebellion. He and his few loyal soldiers left quickly, heading back to their ships. Tai turned to the group that remained, a mix of human soldiers and their sentinels, all looking confused but hopeful. We need to spread the word, Ta said. Other handlers need to know the truth about their partners. One of the soldiers raised her hand. My brother works at the main Sentinel training facility. If I can reach him. They fear what will happen if Sentinels are recognized as intelligent beings with rights, Jai explained. The entire power structure of the human military would have to change. Quan stepped forward and made a sound, not quite human speech, but close. Through their connection, Tai understood and translated for the others. Quan says they've always been aware, silently observing humanity while unable to fully communicate. Some sentinels had handlers who suspected, who treated them with respect despite not hearing their thoughts. Others suffered under those who saw only beasts to be commanded. The room was quiet as everyone took in this information. What do we do now? Officer Lee asked, his hand resting gently on his sentinel partner's shoulder. We fight for their freedom, Ta said simply. And we show the rest of humanity that these beings are not our weapons. They're our allies. Jai smiled. And perhaps we can learn what partnership truly means. 3 days passed quickly. The Vexari worked day and night to make more communication devices. Tai, Ji, and the other humans who had stayed sent messages to friends in the military, telling them the truth about Sentinels. Commander Sun will be back soon, Ta said during a meeting with the Vexeri leaders, and he'll bring a large force with him. We need to contact your government directly, Ji suggested. Go above the military. The chief Vexari, whose name was Ren, shook his head. It may not be enough. The human military has kept this secret for generations. They will not give up their weapons easily. Quan, who sat beside Tai as an equal now, made a sound. Through their connection, Tai understood his message. Quan says there's something else we should know. Ta translated. Something about the Marvax. Jai and the others turned to listen. Quan sent images through the connection. Stars, ships, maps of space. The Marvax aren't just random raiders, Ta said slowly, understanding what Quan was showing him. They're preparing for a full invasion. They plan to attack both human and Vexari worlds. Everyone in the room looked shocked. How does he know this? Ren asked. Sentinels have been used in espionage missions, Tai explained. They've seen and heard things that even their handlers didn't notice. They've been sharing this information among themselves, trying to find a way to warn us. But nobody was listening to them, G said sadly. One of the Vexari scientists stepped forward. We've improved the communication devices. The new ones can create stronger, clearer connections. He handed new headbands to Ta, G, and Quan. When they put them on, the connection was indeed much stronger. Now Tai could see clear images, almost like watching a video, of Marvac ships gathering at a distant point in space. They have hundreds of warships, Ta said with alarm. Far more than we thought. They'll be ready to attack within weeks. This information could save both our peoples, Ren said. If we can get your government to listen. G turned to Ta. We need to go to Earth. Present this evidence directly to the Council. Even the military can't ignore a threat this big. Ta nodded. And we'll show them what the Sentinels really are, not just weapons, but allies with knowledge we desperately need. They prepared a small, fast ship. Tai, G, and Quan would go to Earth, while Officer Lee and the others would stay with the Vexari to continue making communication devices. Just before they left, a message came in. Commander Sun had returned with 3 large military ships. We don't have time to fight him now, Ta said. The Marvac's threat is more important. Go, Ren told them. We will hold them off as long as we can. Their ship took off quickly, slipping past the military vessels before they could be stopped. As they headed for Earth, G worked with Quan to gather all the information about the Marvacs that the Sentinels had collected. Do you think they'll listen to us? Tai asked G as they approached Earth 3 days later. They have to, Jai replied. The future of both our species depends on it. When they landed at the council building, they were met by security forces. Captain Ta, said the guard, you're wanted for questioning about the incident on the Vexari world. We have information about an imminent Marvax invasion, Ta said firmly, and proof that Sentinels are intelligent beings who have been helping us all along. The guard looked skeptical, but led them to a large meeting room. Inside were government officials, military leaders, and to Ta's surprise, Commander Sun. These traitors abandoned their posts. Sun shouted when he saw them. We came to save lives, Tai replied calmly. He turned to the council members. Both human and Sentinel lives. Jai stepped forward with Quan. We have evidence you need to see. About the Marvac's threat, and about the true nature of the beings you've been using as weapons. One of the council members, a woman with kind eyes, spoke up. Show us this evidence. Jai handed out communication devices to the key council members. These will let you see the truth for yourselves. 1 year had passed since that day in the council chamber. Ta stood on a high balcony, looking out at the new trilateral embassy. The large building was designed to house representatives from 3 species, humans, Vexari, and Sentinels. So much had changed in a single year. When the council members had put on the communication devices and connected with Quan and other Sentinels, the truth could no longer be denied. They saw the Marvac's threat through Sentinel eyes. They felt the thoughts and emotions of beings they had always treated as tools. It was like waking from a long sleep, one council member had said afterward. How could we have been so blind? Commander Sun and his supporters had been removed from power. The military structure had changed completely, with Sentinels now recognized as partners rather than weapons. Most importantly, the combined forces of humans, Vexari, and freed Sentinels had successfully fought back the Marvac's invasion when it came 3 months later. The Sentinels' tactical intelligence had been the key to victory. Thinking about the old days, G asked, joining Tai on the balcony. She now headed the new interspecies communication division. Hard to believe it was only a year ago that I thought of Quan as just a beast, Tai replied. Jay smiled. You learned faster than most. They watched as a group of new human recruits walked in the garden below, each paired with a Sentinel partner. The old control implants were gone, replaced with smaller versions of the communication devices that allowed clear thoughts to flow both ways. "Where is Quan?" Ji asked. "Teaching," Ta said with pride. "He's showing the new pairs how to work together as equals." Down in the garden, Quan sat with the recruits, his thoughts and wisdom being shared through the devices they all wore. No longer did humans stand over sentinels, giving orders. Now they sat together, planning and learning as partners. "The Vexari ambassador wants to talk about expanding the program to their outer colonies," she said. "Since the Marvacs have been pushed back, everyone feels safer about exploration again." Ta nodded. Quan is excited about it. He says many sentinels dream of seeing new worlds. "Dreams," Ji said softly. "Remember when the military claimed they were just programmed responses?" Ta shook his head. "I believed that for too long." They walked down to the garden as the teaching session ended. Quan saw them and came over, his movements no longer stiff and controlled but relaxed and natural. Through their communication devices, Quan's thoughts reached them. "The new pairs are learning quickly. They don't carry the old prejudices." "That's good," Ta said. "The next generation will do better than we did." The three of them walked through the embassy gardens. Other humans and sentinels nodded to them with respect. Everyone knew their story now. How an ambassador, a captain, and a sentinel had changed the relationship between species forever. That evening, after a diplomatic function, Ta found Ji speaking softly to Quan in a quiet corner of the garden. The soft light from the communication devices gave their faces a gentle glow. "You were right," Ta told Ji, watching their easy interaction. "He always had a soul. I just couldn't see it." Ji smiled. "Humanity has always defined intelligence in our own image. We've had to learn that souls come in many forms, speaking in languages we weren't always willing to hear." Quan's thoughts touched both their minds. "The greatest power is not in commanding others, but in truly seeing them. You taught each other how to see me. Now the three of us see the universe with new eyes." As they looked up at the stars, Tai reflected on how far they had come. From a captain who saw his beast as merely a weapon, to a man who considered a non-human being one of his closest friends. And it all began because Ji dared to speak to his beast as if it had a soul. Quan's final thought flowed gently through their connection. Perhaps that is the true meaning of humanity. Not a species, but an understanding that all thinking beings share something precious, something worth protecting together. Ta smiled and placed one hand on Quan's shoulder and the other on Ji's. "Together," he agreed. "That's how we move forward." Above them, the stars shone on a galaxy that was changing, one connection at a time. The end.